guys. Good morning all of you. Today we discuss in this video very important chapter of mathematics which is included class 9th, 8th, 10th, 11th, 12th. In this video we have mainly studied coordinate geometry of level of class 9th and class 10th. Firstly, we want to define coordinate geometry. What is coordinate geometry? What is coordinate geometry? Coordinate geometry. This is our first one to define coordinate geometry. After it, we discuss in so detail about coordinate geometry. Coordinate geometry is the branch of mathematics. Coordinate geometry is the branch of mathematics. Mathematics under which we study algebraic equations that means we study representation of point or any geometrical figure which its identification with its identity. That means coordinate geometry is the branch of mathematics under which we study representation of point or any geometrical figure with its identity. That means coordinate geometry is the branch of mathematics. It is the branch of mathematics under which we study point or any geometrical figure. Point, that means in class 9th we mainly study about point, coordinate of point, distance between two points. If we take 2 points and join to each other, and if we take another point on this line, and what are the coordinate of this point, and if we take 3 non-collinear point and we join each other, after it makes a triangle. What is the area of triangle? That means here we observe that mainly we have to study about point, but we can say that point is also a geometrical figure. So we can say that coordinate geometry is the branch of mathematics under which we study representation of geometrical figure which its identity in a plane. In a plane, we have to mainly study geometrical figure with its identity in a plane. That means we can say that graph. We can define many ways coordinate geometry, just like a study of algebraic equations on a graph is called coordinate geometry. But this can also be defined by this way. Now we describe concept of coordinate geometry. What is the importance of coordinate geometry and why do we study coordinate geometry? Before describing this concept, we take some examples by which we understand what is coordinate geometry and why do we study coordinate geometry. There is very simple example. Let us a point, or let us, this point is a place, and we ask to you, where is this point? Where is this point? How can we give idea about this point? That means this point is lies here. Is there any way by which we can we can reach near this point? If we think, then there are many processes by which can reach near the point. Firstly, if we take this reference line, that means reference frame. Reference means that if we have to measure the distance from any point, if we have to measure from any point, that means let us say this point is Patna and this point is Delhi, and we have to determine the distance from Delhi to point Patna, then definitely we have considered a point which is fixed. After it, that means this fixed point is called a reference point. After it, we say that from Delhi to Patna is 800 kilometers. This means that is there any process by which we can give identity of this point? We can reach near this point? Yes, this is very simple. If we take two mutually, that means if we take two mutually perpendicular line, this is the frame. This is the frame. Reference frame. Now we take, if we know distance from this point, that means if you take just like this reference line, if we take two mutually perpendicular line, and we know about distance from this point to this, and we know also distance from this point B to A, then we can say then we can reach near this point by this way. There are also another method. If we know distance from O to A and angle between them, we also can determine the point. That means can we identify this point? Now this system, if we measure this length and this length, then we say that it is the Cartesian coordinate geometry. And if we take this length, that means OA, and angle between OA and this horizontal line, that means theta, it is represented as r theta, which is known as polar coordinate geometry. Other than these two methods, there are also many processes by which can reach near this point, but it is out of this syllabus. So we have to mainly study Cartesian coordinate geometry in this system. That means Cartesian coordinate geometry under which we take two mutually perpendicular lines. But in higher classes, we also study, we can take two oblique lines for a reference frame. That means here we observe that for identifying or to find the exact position of a point in a plane, we have to take definitely firstly two mutually perpendicular lines. After it, with respect to intersection point of a reference line frame, we determine distance from horizontally. After it, we take distance perpendicularly. Then we can reach near this point. This type system is called Cartesian coordinate system. This is also known as a rectangular Cartesian coordinate system. Now we define in so detail what is Cartesian coordinate geometry, or we can also say that what is Cartesian system. Cartesian coordinate geometry. Cartesian coordinate geometry. In this system, we take two mutually perpendicular lines in which one with the parallel to earth while another perpendicular to it. That means in the Cartesian coordinate geometry, we will take firstly two mutually perpendicular lines, take one with a parallel to earth while another with a perpendicular to it. Before describing more, firstly we want to define some basic terms which is related to Cartesian coordinate system, such that we can understand so easily Cartesian coordinate geometry, which is related to class 9th as well as class 10th, but it is also helpful class 11th, 12th and upper classes of coordinate geometry. So firstly we have to study Cartesian coordinate geometry with concept. Firstly we define x-axis, or it is also known as abscissa. In the Cartesian coordinate system, a line which is parallel to earth is called, or in Cartesian maybe in Cartesian system, a line which is parallel to earth is called x-axis or abscissa. X-axis or abscissa. Now we define y-axis or ordinate. It is also known as ordinate. That means in a Cartesian system, a line which is perpendicular to the earth is called y-axis or ordinate. That means for reference we can represent it. We observe that this line is horizontal to the earth, so it is called x-axis, while this is called y-axis. Clear? Now we define origin. What is origin? Intersection point of x coordinate and y coordinate, x axis and y axis. Intersection point of x axis and y axis is called origin. It is denoted by O. That means if we take two mutually perpendicular lines such that they intersect to each other at a point, this point is called origin. This line is called x-axis. For convenience, we take x and leftward we take x dash, while upward we y and downward y dash. Now we define coordinate of a point, or firstly we define x coordinate of a point. X coordinate of a point. What do you mean by x coordinate of a point? Let us take a point in this plane or in this system. If we draw perpendicular from this point to y axis, this distance AB is called x coordinate. That means x coordinate of a point. That means x coordinate, that means simply perpendicular distance of any point maybe of a point to the y-axis. That means x coordinate means that if we have to determine the x coordinate of point A, then we measure perpendicular distance from A to y-axis. That means AB represents here. For example, we can get x coordinate of A is same as distance from A, perpendicular distance from A to y axis. That means A. Clearly, that means whatever we have to consider about x coordinate of any point, that means perpendicular distance from this point to y axis. Now we define a next point, that means y coordinate of a point. This is same as, but very simple difference. That means if we have to define y coordinate of a point, that means perpendicular distance of a point to the x axis. For example, y coordinate of a point A is same as perpendicular distance from A to x axis. That means if we have to determine the y coordinate of a point, any point, then firstly we have to draw perpendicular from this point to x axis. This length, that means AC, represents y coordinate while this length AB represents x coordinate. Now we define a next term which is related to this Cartesian coordinate geometry, which is known as quadrant. Now we define quadrant. What is quadrant? That means x-axis and y-axis divides whole plane into four equal parts. Into four equal parts. X-axis and y-axis divides whole plane into four equal parts. Each of them is called quadrants. That means named as first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant. That means if we take two mutually perpendicular lines in the plane, here we observe that whole plane is divided into four equal parts. This is called first quadrant. For convenience, no any region. This is called second quadrant, and this is called third quadrant, and this is called fourth quadrant. For convenience, we take also positive distance from origin to rightward direction, while we take from negative distance from origin to leftward direction. Similar way, we take distance from origin to upward direction positive and downward direction negative. That means in this direction we take positive distance, in this direction we take negative, while upward direction we take distance positive, and while downward direction we take distance negative. Now we define a next term which is called coordinate of a point. Coordinate of a point. When x coordinate and y coordinate is taken in order pair. Respectively, it represents taken in order pair respectively in a square bracket in this bracket That means when x coordinate and y coordinate is taken in order pair in bracket, it is called, it represents coordinate of a point. That means if we take x coordinate and y coordinate in under a bracket such that x coordinate is taken first as a first element while b, that means let us say y coordinate be b, then b is taken in second element in a order pair, then it represents coordinate of any point. That means let us take any point, and here x coordinate means that perpendicular distance from this point to y axis, that means AB, while y coordinate, this means perpendicular distance from A to x axis. If we take any point in this plane, here we observe that x coordinate will be always positive as well as y coordinate also. So if we take x coordinate and y coordinate both will be positive, then it lies always in first coordinate. So we write positive lies in first quadrant while negative positive lies in second quadrant. Because if we take any point in this system, that means in second quadrant, and we measure x coordinate, then we observe that x coordinate, that means perpendicular distance from this point to y axis, we observe that this length is always negative, while y coordinate, that means perpendicular distance from this point to x axis, this is always positive, that because it is perpendicular and it is direction of y axis, this length is direction of y axis, so it is always, that means in second quadrant y coordinate is always taken positive. Similar way in third quadrant we will take negative x coordinate and negative y coordinate. In same as in fourth quadrant we take positive x coordinate and negative y coordinate. Now I think concept of some basic terms is so clear such that we can understand another concept of this chapter, which is called distance formula. That means until now we have studied if we take two mutually perpendicular lines in a plane, horizontal line is called x axis while perpendicular line is called y axis. This is called first quadrant, in which we take always positive. This is called second quadrant, in which we take always negative. This is called third quadrant. This is called third quadrant, in which we take always negative. This is called fourth quadrant, in which we take positive. Positive means that we take positive from origin to any distance rightward direction. Take negative from any distance from origin to leftward direction. From origin to upward direction we take always positive, while downward direction we take negative. Coordinate geometry is just this point. Now we describe some examples. Let us, anybody asks to me where this point lies, that means in first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, or fourth quadrant. Here we observe that x coordinate, that means 3, which is positive, y coordinate is 4, which is also positive. So positive lies always in first quadrant, so it lies in first quadrant. Let us another example, -2, -5, and anybody asks to check whether where this point lies in which coordinate, in which quadrant. Then we observe that x coordinate is negative and y coordinate also negative, so it is lies in third quadrant. Now we want to find the position of this point in a graph. This is so simple. Firstly, we take a scale. Firstly, we take a scale in this system. Let us take 1 unit scale from origin to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2, -3, upward direction 1, 2, 3, downward direction -1, -2, -3, 3, 4. That means firstly from origin to rightward direction, that means 3 lies always, that means 3 is a positive, so it lies on a x-axis from origin to rightward direction. So we go origin to rightward direction up to 3. After it, we have to go 4 upward direction, because 4 is a positive number which is in upward direction to the y-axis. So we go upward direction, that means 4. This point represents 3. Similar way, -2, -5 can be represented on a graph. Now we describe distance formula with proof in this video. After it, we discuss section formula. What is the section formula? Firstly, we define distance formula. Let us take a reference frame as like this: x dash, y dash, and we have 2 points in this plane, and we have to determine and coordinate of A, x1, y1, coordinate of B, x2, y2 is given that. Can you determine the distance between A to B using coordinate of A and B? Yes. So simple. Join each other. Draw perpendicular from A to on an x-axis. That means AM is perpendicular to x, OX or x-axis, and BN is perpendicular to x-axis. We have to measure the distance of AB. Now we draw perpendicular from A to BN, which is S. Now write construction so simple. Draw AM perpendicular x-axis, BN perpendicular x-axis, AS perpendicular BN, Now we observe that x1 y1 means that what? x1 means that perpendicular distance from this point to y-axis, that means it is x1, that means it is also x1. That means we can write OM is equal to x1. OM is equal to x1. And y1 means that perpendicular distance from this point to x-axis, that means AM is equal to y1. Now we consider coordinate of B. What are the meaning of x coordinate of point B, that means x2, perpendicular distance of B from B to y-axis, that means this way, which is equal to x2. That means we can say that this length is equal to this length, that means ON. ON is equal to x2 and BN is equal to y2. Now, MN can be determined using ON and OM, because here we observe that MN is equal to ON minus OM. MN is equal to OM minus ON. ON minus OM. ON means that x2, while OM means that x1. That means x2 minus x1. Now we have to determine the distance. Here we observe that MN is equal to same as S. That means it can be written as also AS. Clear? Now we find the distance AS. Here we observe that BN is equal to Y2, which is written as already, while SN is equal to AM, which is equal to Y1. AM, Y1, which is also equal to SN. Now we write BS is equal to BN minus SN. BN minus SN. BN means that Y2 minus Y1. Now first will be clean it, after it will also explain. In triangle BABS, that means in right angle triangle ABS, in right angle triangle ABS, angle S is 90 degree, so ABS square is equal to AS square, that means BS square. When S square is cancelled from left to right, it is S square from right to right. Now, AB can be written as AS, that means x2 minus x1 plus BS y2 minus y1. Since x2 minus x1 का whole square is similar as x1 minus x2 whole square, So it can be written as x1 minus x2 का whole square plus y1 minus y2 का whole square. I think this is so simple, but in this video mainly we have to describe distance formula and section formula. Here our goal is find the distance from A to B. A to B is so simple. If we know about S and BS, then we can easily determine the distance AB. Supposing ASB is a right angle triangle, so we draw perpendicular A to M, S to N, and we determine also AS and BS in this whole picture. I think you can also prove this formula. Now we give some examples which is solved by distance formula. So simple. Let A is equal to, that is coordinate of AB 1 2 and coordinate of B 2 3 or 3 2, and we have to determine the distance AB. That means we can write it x1 y1 x2 y2. Here we observe that x1 is equal to 1, y1 is equal to 2. By comparing, x2 is equal to 3, y2 is equal to 2. So distance between AB is equal to, I know, x1 minus x2 whole square, square of the difference of y1 minus y2 का whole square. Means that x1 minus x2 1 minus 3 का plus y1 minus y2 2 minus 2 whole square, which is equal to 1 minus 3 whole square, means that 4, which is equal to 2. So length of AB, that means distance from A to B, is equal to 2. So using this formula we can solve a lot of examples. Now we discuss in next video mainly section formula and related to some examples, and after it we individually solved class 9th, class 10th, class 11th, class 12th. Each and every problems of NCERT books. But before describing, I think firstly we describe some theoretical portion with proof such that you can understand easily for solving all those problems. Now in next video we discuss some different types problems and some good problems also, which is related to many competitive examination. After it we onwards towards class BSc, in which also BSc part 1 coordinate geometry, which is related to 3D. In actual way 3D is also in class 11th and class 12th. We also explain it, but firstly we have to also, you should concept of this topic. After it you can understand any topic of coordinate geometry which is related to class 11th, 12th either. Now we discuss in next video. So please thanks all of you for watching this video. You have to solve using this formula many problems in the book, given book. Thanks all of you.